From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Everybody, welcome into the show. I shook it off camera. I'm going to take it on camera. It is Wake Up Warchant. It is live. It's presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. I'm not going to shake it because it would go everywhere, but I would take it.
Yeah, there you go, buddy. Get it up in you. Get it up in you.
Tropical Infusion Focus Plus. Got all the energy I need to make it till about 2 a.m. now. And all the vitamins and nutrients to get my focus and my mood right as we do the show. Got my VE hat on too, Corey. I feel like a B-boy standing in my B-boy stance. That's a song. I forgot.
Yikes.
It's Onyx Slam. For some reason, whenever I see the Monday Smash pop up on my screen, I always want to sing Slam by Onyx for some reason. I don't know why, but I do. Corey, sorry for that weird intro. How are you, though?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. I hope there's still people left listening and watching this. You got your Onyx. You got your Onyx kick. You got Aslan doing the street dancing. Just looking the part. But yeah, here we are, man. Here we are. We're 3 days away from the Noles return to the field.
Hey, before we go any further, I want to obviously vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, the promo code. Go do it, everybody. Want to give a shout out to a gym goer at my same gym who came up to me last week, and he came up to me and he's like, Aslan, next time, don't pour out the cores. And I thought he said, don't pull out the cords. So I looked at him funny. I'm like, what'd you say? It's like, don't pour out the cores next time. He was up watching us do the watch along during the Stanford game.
All right.
Where it was 1 a.m. I opened a beer at age 43 at 1 a.m. Like my first beer. You can open a beer at 1 a.m., but like your first beer?
Yeah, that's a weird time to start. It was a good time to start watching that thing in the third quarter, but yeah, I get you.
Actually, we went out to dinner earlier that night with Mercedes Mike and his wife, so I did have a cocktail or two. But he's awesome. I don't know his name. I appreciate him for being funny and knowing what we were doing during the watch along, but I also appreciate the fact that I've seen him 2 times since at the gym, Corey, and this has been the extent of our interactions.
Oh, okay.
Keep it moving.
That's it.
Keep it moving.
All right. You don't like interacting with people. I got you.
Bro, he's jacked. All right, like he's got arms the size of my like thorax or whatever we call this. Torso is the word I was looking for. So he's dedicated to the Iron game. You're dedicated to the Iron game. We're also dedicated to talking about the Florida State Seminoles. I don't want to drag it out too much longer, but let's talk about some hoops real quick. Do you want to lead off with hoops? Can we lead off with hoops?
No, okay. Not right now. Well, we could talk about that at the end of the show. We did get Mike Norvell earlier today. We got Mekhi Danzy and Omar Graham Jr. as well.
Okay. So, I don't know, man. Mike looks like a guy that feels a lot of the pressure going on around him. So, I don't know if I want to start this off by, like, does he think he's coaching for his job on Saturday? He certainly doesn't feel like a guy who's safe and secure in his job status, but he got a little bit animated, a little bit, emotional sounds like a pejorative in this sense, but he was talking about last week and the questions that he received after the Stanford game about, interactions on the sidelines. And then he pointed out how, it's all about the context behind it. People weren't getting on me in 2022 when I yelled at Deuce Spann in a similar way because, we were winning, so everything was fine. And he had that kind of emotional like shake. I don't know, man. I felt uncomfortable at his apparent uncomfort. What did you take away from Mike's conversation with us at the podium on Wednesday, Corey?
Yeah. I don't take a lot from, like I said on yesterday's show, I don't take a lot from our interactions with him anymore. He's saying what he's also saying what I think he believes, and I don't think he's wrong in that. He was having heated moments on the sidelines even when they were winning. That's not anything new. That's not anything new on any football sideline. The 2013 team had some heated moments from time to time on the sideline. Not that many. Fourth quarter, they're playing hangman on the dry erase board. But, they did have a few. It's just part of being on a team. And so that it's just that when the reaction is caught on camera, number one, you are in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. You're about to lose at Stanford. A lot of the reason is because that young man jumped off sides and then gave up a touchdown 3 plays later. And then that's the interaction that happens immediately after that. That is kind of the lasting impression you get. You don't care about what he was in an argument with Deuce Spann 2 years ago against Miami or whatever. Nobody remembers that. Nobody cares about that, but they will remember the Edwin Joseph interaction because, number one, it was caught on camera. Number two, it came on the heels of a horrible 3-play sequence that kind of cost you a game and might have very well cost you your job. So those are the impressions that stay. But he is right that all coaches are going to have interactions like that with players over the course of a season, over the course of a game. That even when things are going well. Remember when was it McElroy or A.J. McCarron that screamed down his offensive lineman when they were beating the crap out of Notre Dame in the national championship game?
McCarron was the quarterback then.
And that center was a good center. And they were like best friends, and they started screaming at each other because they had to call a timeout when they were up by 4 touchdowns in the national championship game. Just stuff like that happens. But, yeah, I think most people have kind of tuned out what Norvell is saying because it's the same stuff. He does believe in him. They are trying. They are giving him a lot of work. They're giving him what they have. He does think they have a little more pep in their step. Do you think there's any way that football-only facility really does have a sort of impact on their psyche in a positive way?
I was thinking we've been, across different platforms on Warchant, whether it's JCS headlines here, we've been talking about the spread and why it's so odd. Like it's a 9.5 point spread just doesn't seem to make sense. And I don't know how much they're factoring in the emotional bump of, walking into a palace like that, that has all the bells and whistles, shows you all the history. And to hear the way the guys like Omar Graham and Mekhi Danzy and Richie Leonard and everybody else that we spoke to this week just talk about, like, it makes you realize you're playing for something more than yourself. And like, it kind of dovetails into a lot of the messaging that Mike Norvell likes. Yeah, that could be something that, listen, it's definitely much more of an impact than wearing different uniforms, I believe.
I'm not dismissing it or diminishing it. I think there is a factor there. I worked at a place, the Gwinnett Daily Post, where we worked the first year and a half I was there, we worked in what felt like a trailer. It just a glorified trailer. The building sucked. It was probably, I think it's been condemned or turned into a farmer's market now. And then my last year or two there, we moved into this brand new building in a real office park. It was a real office. It was shiny. It was nice. And it does pick up your, because you didn't feel great walking into that thing. Like I still tried to do the best work I could, but it did make a bit of a difference when, and my work was incredible. I want to get that out of the way now. My work, my Daily Post work, guys, go back and see if you can find some of those articles. Holy, Aslan, you heard about it, and you were in Montana. So I do think that can matter. I think you walk into that building, and you're like, man, look at this place. This is a palace. This might be the best one of these in the country, as far as they know it is. They haven't been to many other ones or any other ones. So that can have an impact, I think. Like, look at where we get to play football. Look who we get to play football for. Look at all those numbers we're looking at. We have no excuses. Not that they really had any excuses anyway. I do think it could I think it could fill them with a little more pride playing in a place like that or practicing in a place like that, getting used to a place like that, than obviously any of the pride they played with the last 4 weeks. I know that's eye-rolly. I know that's cringy, but because it shouldn't take some some new building to fill you up with pride and make you play hard. But you'll take anything you can get at this point. And I don't think it means nothing to be in a place like that, to just feel a little bit better about your lot in life when you get to play, you get to practice and spend all your time in a building like that.
I will say, though, that you were in a trailer that had been condemned. I don't think things got that bad inside of Doak Campbell Stadium. It wasn't like they were reporting to work every day and going into like a really shoddy, I mean, it still had a really great players lounge and all the, bells and whistles a lot of places have, but yeah, now it's on a whole different level. So there could be something there. There could be
What
something
about the comparison? I spent my first 2 years in college at Georgia Southern. And Georgia Southern is a completely different school than it is now. Like now it's a really nice campus. It's a pretty campus. In 1993, it sucked. There was nothing great about Georgia Southern's campus. And then I spent 2 years there, and I wasn't really proud of where I was. I didn't attack it maybe my academics the way I would have or the way I did when I went to Georgia. I just felt, I don't know, more pride about being on that campus than I did on the Georgia Southern campus. Again, these are probably not relatable at all, and they're probably going to lose by 40 points. But whatever, I'm trying to find some positive, folks, and that really is a nice football facility that they seem to really, really enjoy. So let's hope it matters.
I will say that when they named the field Bobby Bowden Field, they lost that game.
Toronto, yeah.
When they broke ground on the IPF, they ended up losing the next day.
Yeah.
So let's hope things don't happen in threes. Aaron Peace here, everybody. Give it up for Aaron. He's brought Alexander Hamilton to the party. That's very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Aaron P., I hope FSU isn't stuck in the sunk cost fallacy with Mike Norvell. Do you want to educate the folks on what the sunken cost fallacy is, Corey? You probably can say it more eloquently than I could.
Isn't it just like, we could look it up. I could chat GPT it. Isn't it that like you've already put so much money into it already? It's already a sunk cost. So ride it out. You're already losing a ton of money.
That's exactly what it means. Phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy because they've invested heavily in it.
Yeah.
Even when it's clear that abandoning it would be more beneficial. Thank you, Aaron. I will watch Saturday hoping for a win, but there's no excitement, no trust he can sustain the success. If I feel that, donors do too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth on the screen right there, Corey. I can't disagree with any of it.
Yeah, man. And here's the thing, like he could win out. And while that would probably keep his job this year, we don't think that's going to happen, but he could win out. Nobody would be excited about next year because you're always waiting for that third or fourth shoe to drop with this guy. Doesn't mean it will. They could be ready to take off, gang. They might be on their way to another 20-game winning streak, and it starts Saturday night. But nobody's going to believe it. Nobody's going to believe it. He has not gotten any of the benefit of the doubt. And no, why would you trust that he could sustain success? He hasn't. He hasn't. It's hard to, by the way. It's really hard to. And I don't think Florida State fans are crazy. I don't think – it's not like people were telling Jimbo – it's not like Jimbo got fired after his horrible season, even as the program started to dip and dip and dip and then imploded there in 17. He wasn't fired. I don't think Florida State fans are outrageous or unreasonable. It's not that Norvell couldn't sustain long-term success. He fell off a mountain. Like, that's the problem. If he would have followed 13-1, 13-0, with 7-5, 8-4, nobody's sitting here calling for his job. Nobody thinks he should be fired. He followed 13-0 with 1-11 in the ACC in the last 2 years. 1-11. That's insane. That's just insane. So it's not just sustained success. He has sustained failure. And nobody would trust that wouldn't happen again as we move forward. But again, he's still the coach at Florida State. He's still the coach at Florida State. As far as we know, he'll be the coach at the end of this season. We'll see. But for right now, I guess he's still got a chance to right this thing and get to coach here again in 2026.
Garrett PCL. Wake up. He's a YouTube Premier member.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Garrett.
Is the reason that Florida State has not moved on from Mike lead us to believe that they are zeroing in on a coach who will be coaching in the postseason? Would that be worth the gamble? I say yes.
So what I wonder about Aslan, like, look, let's go tick them down, man. Like, I don't think they're not going to get a coach that's in the postseason, a head coach, right? That just doesn't happen. Maybe Kiffin leaves, maybe. But that's just not how the world works typically. The head coaches to get hired come from smaller schools, and they get bumped up. They're a power They're an FBS school that goes to a Power 4. Or they're a Power 4 school that goes to one of the big blue bloods. There's something like that. It's not typically lateral moves. And if you're coaching in the playoff and you go coach somewhere else, it's going to be mostly a lateral move. I wonder about, say you did want the OC at Oregon. That's who you want to be the head coach. Do you have to wait until Oregon's done playing football for him to come on board? Or does he leave?
Well, yeah, the Mark Richt conundrum, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at a place like Oregon, I mean, listen, Saban told Kiffin to kick rocks when he took the FAU job. He's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to help focus and coach us here. So, man, thank you, but goodbye, leave. At a place like Oregon, man, I would think he would stay because, like, they've never won a national title. I think it would mean, obviously the world to that program and Phil Knight, who's cutting your checks.
But he's not an Oregon grad. And I would think, if you get a shot to coach at Florida State, awesome that you've done great things at Oregon, but you need to get your butt to Tallahassee and help yourself the best possible way you can. And that isn't waiting a month to get you know what I mean? And that goes for all of it. That goes if Florida wants to hire the Georgia DC or if Florida hires the guy from Oregon. Like when you hire a coordinator that's in the playoffs, man, that coordinator needs to get his butt, especially because of the signing day and the portal class. Like you got to get everything running quickly. That's going to be a conundrum, but that's going to be a conundrum for all of them, for all the coaches that are in this mix. And it's going to be the craziest coaching cycle of our lifetimes, probably this next 6 weeks, 8 weeks coming up. But it's for the coaches that are in the mix and for those schools. Like LSU going to wait on Lane Kiffin? All right. You've basically punted on an entire class because there's no way Lane is going to say he's going to LSU before he's done at Ole Miss because he might be trying to win a championship. So it's going to be really interesting and we also, the way college football world, we don't know what the normal is anymore. Maybe it'll be normal to wait until you're done in the playoffs, or maybe it'll be normal to leave as soon as you get the job. I have no idea.
What are your thoughts on what's going on down in Baton Rouge? I was with you guys when people were making the whole narrative on Monday about LSU moving off Brian Kelly. This shows that they're more serious about football than you are, Florida State fans. Ha ha.
Their governor is definitely more serious about football.
My goodness, brother. Juxtapose that to Tony Greco here. I love FSU. I just don't get what they are doing. Did Michael Alford think that email was not going to get out? Apparently he wrote an email to boosters where...
To boosters or a booster? I don't have any context of what that email is. Was that sent to all boosters or one particular booster that just happened to get out? But you can fill in the gray there, Aslan. That's not a saying, but fill in the.
Either way, not great, because if it was only sent to one booster, they're a really, really important booster. They're a really important person. So you're not going to give them fluff and nonsense.
No, tell people what the email said. There's a lot of people that don't know what we're talking about.
I don't have it in front of me, but it basically, where's my phone? Hold on. Oh, I get my phone. It was in the group. I put it in the group chat to you guys. So the quote is apparently narrow margins in our losses and the quality of our wins speak volumes about the direction we're heading.
Yeah.
That gave me I have a migraine. I thought it was a hat. Yeah, that angered me. Like I know, and it goes back to Ira's story like a week ago about the problem with college sports is so many of these decisions are made based on emotion and not analytically, reasonably driven. Excuse me, at Florida State University, the football program is going to be not lauded, but you're going to not want to do a change because you feel that the losses are competitive and the quality of wins. That Alabama one was a month ago. Other than that, they haven't had a quality win since they beat Louisville in the ACC championship game in the year of our Lord 2023.
Yeah, I get. I have no. It's hard to comment on this because I have no context when the email was sent. I haven't read wherever that was posted. I don't know who it's sent to. I don't know what the full email said. So it's hard to comment on it. I would tell you this. That's why I was doing this with the calm down gesture, the universal calm down gesture.
Problem is I have to look there to look into the camera, and then you're down here, so I'm not seeing you trying to protect me. Much like a defender on the basketball court needs to hear somebody yelling at them where the screen's coming from.
We heard that a few times today, didn't we, Aslan, at the basketball practice? That was fun to watch. Calm down with that. That is one email. It's about 18 words. It might be in relation to why didn't you fire his ass Saturday after the game? And he's like, look, just biding his time to say something to an important booster. He doesn't want to ignore the email. I have no idea what the context is. We need to be realistic here. I can't. There is no scenario. There is no scenario where if Mike Norvell wins one more game or two more games the rest of the year, that he is the head coach in 2026. You can't sell it. You can't sell it. So just let's work under that presumption. Or I guess it's an assumption. So I don't buy too much into that. I don't buy too much into what that email says or what it might mean big picture. I do not think that means that Mike Norvell is guaranteed to be the coach in 2026, because what Alford did release publicly, that statement, was they would reassess the football program at the end of the season. Mike Norvell's name's not even mentioned, which I think and Ira thinks could lead so if you fired Norvell after the Wake Forest game, if they lost, it wouldn't be like you're going back on your word, because you never said Norvell's status would be reassessed, just the whole football program in general. I don't think Mike Norvell is any safer after reading that comments that I did before I knew that email existed. He's got to win. He's got to win. There's just no chance that he keeps this job if he doesn't start winning a lot of these last 5 games. Probably all of them, honestly. Right?
Winning feels like the ice cold suds hitting your gullet. Winning tastes like the Corey wrap at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
2475 Appalachia Parkway. Come on out Friday, meet and greet. It's Halloween. Dress up as your favorite Warchant personality for a door prize. No, I'm just kidding. There won't be a door prize.
Please don't do that. And no door prizes. Yeah.
No door prizes. But darts, pool, jukebox, awesome bar, delicious food, ice cold drinks. And yeah, Corey will be there shaking hands for the meet and greet. I'm being downgraded to questionable, Corey. I might go pop over to the Atlantic offices for Halloween to give out candy to the kids in the neighborhood to make.
So that's your availability report right now, is you're questionable. Okay. I'm definite. I'm not even on it. I would say Jeff's out. Ira is doubtful. Corey is there, and Tom is probable.
Okay.
To be there. And Stephanie is on. It will be there too if you want to meet my better half. And maybe some other family members. We'll see.
Brady Clark.
But either way, you need to be there.
That's right.
You need to be there. If you're coming into town, hey, you're still a Florida State fan. You still get to cheer. You've gotten to see a lot of good things in your life as a Florida State football fan. The last 10 years have been choppy, let's say. But you've gotten to see a lot of good things. Don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of the fact that you will be good again. I was saying this 2017. I was saying again in 2020. You will be good again. And you were for 19 straight wins. It will happen again. This will get turned around. You will be a playoff program, and people will be talking about you again the way you should be talked about. Probably not with this head coach. Probably not next year. But it is going to happen again. So stay involved. Stay engaged. Stay a Florida State fan, and stay straight coming to Corner Pocket. Good times.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
In Crawfordville, your home convenience store is Ace Home Center and Napa Auto Parts, located at 2709 Crawfordville Highway. I want the Ace.
Nowhere. That came out of nowhere. That came with the thunder.
I punched it, man. I was so ready to punch it up. I think I might have the ace jingle be our first dance at the wedding.
Nice, man. Nice.
We're gonna have a string trio there. They might be able to replicate. That's the emotion in the last 4 seconds, man.
It's great, man. It's an all-time jingle for real.
Who else we got here? Nick Snyder. We've
the lighting
spoken
in my house.
That's okay. Natural light, man. You look.
I
like that chair.
It's a nice chair. It's Stephanie's dad's chair. R.I.P. Not to the chair, but to her dad. The chair's still here, live and kicking. But I don't know how to close the blinds. So that's the way I'm living life right now.
And
so
you're big fancy new house. You don't know how to close the blinds. Huh?
I don't even know. I can't even see the little string. It doesn't even look like they came with them.
They don't, brother. They're automatic now. You just there's cordless. You just grab it and pull it down.
Oh, well, let me try that real quick as you read this next question.
Okay. Let's see if this is really good coming off the Ace ad. I think they sell blinds at Ace. Maybe they do. Go check out your local Ace dealer, especially the one in Crawfordville. We love them. Nick Snyder says, if we're to move off this current staff, which are the players you most want to stay? I think we kicked this around a week or so ago, probably on the mailbag. He's got some of the right answers up there. I need to see a little bit more from Chroma. I know everybody loves Uzme and Chroma, so maybe that's just me being me and zagging off of all this. I don't dislike the young man. I just
life changer, Aslan. Life changer.
Yeah, there you go.
Figured it all out. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, Danzy's on the list. But Corey said it on yesterday's show. There's nobody on this team. There is no collection of guys that I'm like, if they put a line in the sand and say, if you get rid of Mike, we're leaving and going in the portal. There's no combination of players on this roster that I'd be like, okay, all right, you win. I'd be like, all right, man, appreciate it. We'll take your rev share and we'll try to find somebody else. But yeah, man, Danzy has to be first and foremost the next guy. Really want to see what Chroma can do coming off the bye week, Corey, not just in terms of health, but when we spoke to Gus and asked about when is a true freshman kind of make an impact that you would hope for from somebody with the abilities, the skill set of a Chroma. And he was like, this is about the time in the season. So it'd be really nice if Chroma was able to make the most of his carries and maybe start elbowing his way to being the bell cow front runner for this running back crew.
Yeah, but I think those are the right answers. I think the Desir twins for sure. Kevin Wynn, maybe Earl Little. I think it'd be big to have him for one final year. Jabril Rawls is a good player. Other than that, yeah, this isn't the Florida situation, and you shouldn't do it anyway. But the only reason Napier kept his job last year is because of Lagway, and that's a quarterback. You certainly, Tommy has not been good enough that he's worth holding on to a coach that you don't want. And I don't believe in that anyway in football. So, and Florida learned that lesson the hard way. They should have just pulled the Band-Aid off last year. Now there's a bidding war. They got Florida State, who's probably going to become available, LSU and Penn State, who are available. Last year, who was looking for coaches last year? Not that many, right? Not big ones like that. So yeah, I would. There's nobody that you would definitely have to say has to stay. Danzy to me, just because it's unreal how good he's gotten so quickly that we have no idea what the ceiling is there. None. And he made that catch, that 50-yard Hail Mary type catch. He had a 70-yard touchdown right there where he got inside that safety or corner, running free in the middle of the field, and Tommy just overthrew, airmailed it by 10 feet. And he's really hard to cover. He's really good.
This is a question we can maybe spend the entire remainder of the night talking about. Comes from Thomas Smith. What is our standard? By the way, I was watching the Wake Forest cinematic recap after the SMU game because I needed that footage for the Warchant report powered by Cummins, which will be dropping tomorrow. The standard actually originates from a French word, which meant like to plant the flag. And then Jake Dickert, head coach at Wake Forest, comes in the room with a Wake Forest flag and talks to them about they need to, the flag represents their morals, their values, their code as one person, but it also represents everybody in this room. And then he plants it, and then they go out and they beat SMU. So that was pretty cool. What is our standard? Is it the 90s? Football has changed too much to have another decade like that. We have averaged less than 9 wins this century. So what is our standard? Mine is every November, you're in the thick of it. And then once every 3 years, you got to be in it. Minimum. That's the standard.
Yeah, I would say Florida State standard is LSU standard, is Florida standard, is Texas's standard, Notre Dame standard, Oregon standard. You know, you're never going to be great. You're not going to be great every year. You're not going to be good every year. You can't be awful, which this team has been obviously for the last year and a half. I just think it's to be a winning football program that has a chance every year, if things break right, to be a playoff team, and every couple of years maybe be good enough to compete for a national championship. I don't think that's asking too much. Now, knowing though that it's not going to happen all the time, it just isn't. We have to come to grips with that. Like LSU has to come to grips with the fact that they're not going to have a 2019 team again. They're never going to go undefeated again, probably. Neither is Florida State. That is a thing that does not happen anymore. You just have to hope to be good enough to withstand a loss or two, and still have a chance to compete into December and January. That's it. It's like, what is the Tampa Bay Bucks standard? What is the San Diego Chargers standard?
Win your division. Yeah.
Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Give yourself a chance. That is what it is now, and I don't want that to be like people hang their head as like, what does this world come to? This is just college football now, man. As Thomas says right there, the 90s don't exist for anyone anymore. Maybe Ohio State. But again, Georgia's got a loss this year. They could have lost to who did they almost lose to? Ole Miss at home. I feel like they almost lost another game or struggled to win. Tennessee in overtime, maybe. Like
Georgia,
just got
correct. Yeah.
Georgia. Yeah, you just got to give yourself a chance. You got to get good players and give yourself a chance to win more than you lose, and hope you get into the playoff. That's not a crazy standard. It's also not a standard that any school in the country not named Ohio State right now is guaranteed of reaching each year. In fact, most won't. Except Indiana, apparently. How about that? Florida State standard is to be the next Indiana. There we go. Because good grief.
Yeah, man. What I can tell you is it's highly unlikely that you're going to achieve and reach that standard and maintain it with a coach who in year 6 is now on his his fourth losing streak of 3 or more games. Like, I mean, the 90s aren't going to happen where you go 12-0. But man, you cannot have 3-game losing streaks. I mentioned it a few shows ago, like a few weeks ago, Corey, when Jimbo lost 3 games in a row in 2011, I was gutted. Because I was all in on Jimbo. I wanted him as the OC in 2007. I got my wish. I wanted him to take over after Bowden. I got my wish. 10 wins year 1, beats the Canes, beats Florida, beats South Carolina in the bowl game. Man, we are back. Man, we are back. And then you just lose 3 games in a row. I'm like, how, this is what we're doing now? Like, we lose 3 games in a row. Like, it disgusted me. And then, like, now it's like, oh, man, that's just kind of what we do now. It's the standard, unfortunately. That's the standard, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's what people are worried about if Norvell were to keep his job, is that you've just lowered what is acceptable. How about that? Not even the standard. What is acceptable at Florida State might be the better answer. This ain't it. This is far from that. It doesn't mean you have to go 13-0 every year or even every other year. You can never do this. And once you start accepting this 2 seasons in a row, you have lowered things considerably. And I don't think Florida State is accepting it. We'll see. I know Mike Norvell is still the head coach, but we're also got 5 games left in this season.
We do, man. It's
so
crazy.
We're barely halfway through this season. So let's see what it ends up like before we know what they're willing to accept. But they are not willing to accept 1-7, 0-8 in the ACC, which imagine that, going 1-15 in the ACC, which is probably as likely as winning the rest of them, right? I would say losing the rest of these games is as likely as winning the rest of these games, which is sad.
Famous man once said, they'll remember November. So got 5 games, get it right. Brandon, wake up, fellas. Hypothetical. If we were to lose Saturday night with Tommy at quarterback, do we pull the plug and change up the starting quarterback situation and start preparing for the 26th season? No. Because, I mean, who's to say he's going to be the quarterback in 2020. You're building it with who? I mean, there's no guarantee that's going to be that same quarterback and that same offensive coordinator, the same offensive line coach, the same receivers coach. I don't building to 2026 going into this year sounded a bit tenuous of a plan, right? I was like, go 8-4, build for 2026, then make another strong run. That even felt like, man, that's okay, I guess. It shouldn't take you 2 years to build anymore. You've got the portal. You can do it like that. So I don't know about at this juncture and this point, like these next 5 games being a launching pad for keeping these pieces as part of a core for next year.
But who's even keeping them? Like, why would we don't even know who the head coach is going to be? So there'd be no need to play Sperry for who, the next coach?
Right.
When Sperry might not even be here, that coach is probably going to bring in his own guy at quarterback and his own OC, and they might not like Kevin Sperry either. What they're going to do for the next 5 games, whether it's an interim coach or it's Norvell for the rest of the year, they are going to try whatever they can to win that game at all costs. They have to win games. They have to win games, whether it's for the now or their next job. They have to win games. So they are going to do what they're going to play whoever they think gives them the best chance to win. I think we all understand that Tommy Castellanos, relatively healthy, gives them the best chance to win right now over a true freshman Kevin Sperry. So that's who I would expect. Even if what if they lose to Wake 38-34 and Tommy plays well? You got to run out your best quarterback, especially when you're coaching for your career, or even if you're gone. Let's say Tony White takes over and wants to be the interim head coach. He's not going to play a guy that doesn't give him the best chance to win because he wants some wins on his resume. And there's no one. If Norvell was safe, then yeah, I could see something like that. Well, let's see what you got in Kevin Sperry. Like last year, honestly, not that they had a choice, but they played the young guys trying to get them ready for next year, which worked out perfectly. Brock Glenn's third string, Luke Kromenhawk's a backup at Mississippi State, so it all worked out perfectly. So that's Norvell had that. He had the ability to do that. He won't be here next year to being able to.
Reap the fruits.
Yeah, there you go. Is that a word? Is that a saying? Probably.
Reap the
rewards.
Reap the reward. There we go. Trailer Swift theory. I think Mike Norvell's portal habits are the cause of his spiralings. The team can't improve because depth is lacking. There are not young bucks pushing older players to give it their all. Also, how can you buy into the coach when he portals over you for equal talent while paying the new guy more?
Yeah. I mean, look, it was so hard to talk about the portal when Florida State got good with it because it did work. And it was also so brand new. It was hard to know what the best way to build your roster was. Like, I was all for it after 22 and 23. It's like, okay, yeah, you can go recruit guys and hope they pan out in 2 or 3 years, or you can go get a Jermaine Johnson and a Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and go win a bunch of games now. But the now is done. Those guys are off in the NFL, and you're left with the misses you had in the high school recruiting ranks. Because what's going to happen? The hit rate is higher in the portal, but the superstar hit rate is probably really hard. You're going to hit some, but Florida State kind of front-loaded that deal where they got a lot of guys early on. They were ahead of the curve when it came to the portal. They offered Keon, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 than whoever else was offered, $20,000 more than whoever came in second, and that's how they got Keon Coleman. Well, those numbers there'd be another comma in there, or at least another digit in that offer now in 2025 for someone like Keon Coleman. So it's not luck. They were ahead of the curve. They recognized what the game was, but at the expense of what? At the expense of where we are now. No, they are not getting challenged. There is no depth. The defensive line recruiting has been mostly abysmal until this past class. The offensive line recruiting has been non-existent, apparently. They have not recruited an offensive lineman in half a decade that has been a contributing starter to this football team. That's almost impossible to do. And so they kept trying to put Band-Aids on it with the portal, and then we see what it is now.
Braden Fisk did reportedly take less to come to Florida State, by the way. So it's not always about the most money, but it is interesting because towards the end of Jimbo's tenure, looking back on all those recruiting ratings, it was like, well, they weren't a good team and they had all these high recruits. Like, how is that? And it was because they were so defensive back heavy. Like they had a bunch of 4-star defensive backs
and 5 stars, but nobody on the offensive line that was worth the darn. And not many on the defensive line after DeMarcus Walker that were worth the darn.
I mean, Florida State's kind of in the same predicament, but it's just crazy to me. And I don't think he was using it as an excuse. He was asked about it, just, not having Rawls. That's a crazy thing, man. Like if you want to talk about being like one possession games, like are these one player losses? Like if you have Jabril Rawls versus Stanford, do you win that game? If you have, Randy Pittman against Pitt, and I'm sure there was somebody they didn't have against Pitt, or if they would have had them, do they win that game? But also those teams are also banged up. But it is incredibly frustrating to know that, God love him, but like Quindarius Jones goes down and you talk about your depth as being challenged.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get it. You've got your top tier guys that you trust in, but it shouldn't be this like sense of panic and like, well, God dang it, what do you expect from us when like one guy goes down? That's
the problem is that, and look, this would have happened in 2023 if Verse had gone down for 6 weeks. Or if Jordan Travis had been hurt in the middle of the season. That was not going to be a good football team. They got relatively lucky health-wise until right there at the very end. That's the problem, though. Yeah, Jabril Rawls maybe helps because they don't complete that 3rd and 9 pass to their best receiver over Charles Lester because he's not in the game. That's either Rawls or Jerry Wilson. And maybe that's an incomplete pass, and maybe you go down and score and you put some real pressure on them and you go win the game. Great. But why is Florida State in the predicament where one injury or 2 injuries derail the game against Stanford of all teams?
Yep.
The talent level should be so immense, especially relative to Stanford, that one player or 2 players shouldn't hurt you. Even having a quarterback that's banged up should not affect you when you're playing the likes of Stanford. But it does at Florida State because the talent isn't there. The personnel just is not there. It's just not there. The best players are the youngest players. And that's not a great look. It's a great recipe for 2 years from now if they're still here, but Norvell doesn't have that time. And that all comes back to the misses and the misevaluations that he had 2 and 3 years ago, where this is what he's left.
Speaking of.
All right, Matthew Cash.
Dollar bills, y'all.
$20 from Matty Cash. I think Corey said something clever, but I drowned him out with the air horn. I apologize, everybody, for robbing us.
No, we're good. Yeah, I don't ever say anything clever.
What are the chances, Matthew asks, Luke Kromenhoek comes back and we turn this thing around?
Not great on either front. I don't think it's going to get this thing will get turned around. Let's put it that way. I assume that's a tongue-in-cheek question. I don't know. Can't read it. I can't tell tone and text. But Kromenhoek struggling there too. Like he's not going to be at Mississippi State next year, I wouldn't think. And that was a miss. That was another quarterback miss. I don't know if the kid can play. I had my doubts after seeing him in person last year a lot. And then at Mississippi State, he can't get on the field. I think they do have a senior, though. So maybe that was expected, and we'll see what it looks like next year. I guess he's got a chance.
Scott. By the way, thanks again, Matthew. Appreciate that. $20 in the jar. That's cool. Thank you, man. Scott says, in my opinion, Mike sounded like he did at the beginning of the season today. What do you think? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I don't.
No, he wasn't as. Yeah, there's a. It's not sadness. That's too strong a word. There's a pall kind of over when he comes and talks and starts talking about his team and their response and how hard they're practicing, where you're like, I'm sure he believes it. It might be true. They might be practicing hard, but it definitely feels like a guy that knows his time's almost up, which he also knows it should be probably. So, Robert
Charles had a comment earlier about something about Wake Forest being the Temu version of Ohio State and apparently getting all their head coaching hires right. Because, it's crazy. After John Cooper, they Tressel, Urban, and Ryan Day.
But I wonder about that, man. Like, they just got really lucky with their coaching hires, or that thing is set up to not fail?
Yeah, that's a large part. Yeah, that there is a like Ohio State luxury, just some sort of protective shield over them that it's almost impossible for them to suck. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think there's any way they could have gone 2-10. Anyhow,
correct.
Copycat Sport, Robert Charles says, if you want the next Brent Key, Kenny Dillingham, Clark Lee, all conquering heroes who return home, then there's only one call to make.
Deion Sanders.
Chris Winkie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, Chris Winkie's the quarterback's coach at Georgia Tech, I think, right? He's not the OC. Yeah. Buster Faulkner's the OC. And I just would rather have a coordinator that's done it. But hey, I would love Chris Winkie on this staff would be awesome. But I would rather have a coordinator. All those guys were coordinators. Brent Key was the interim head coach until he became the head coach. Clark Lee was a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. And Kenny Dillingham was the OC at Oregon and Florida State and Auburn. They weren't just position coaches. So I get it. I don't know if Robert's being tongue-in-cheek there either. But I would love Chris Winkie to be back on this staff. I do think it would be nice to have some Florida State connections, especially to the past glory days. And he was definitely part of the glory days.
Jaleel McRae's on staff. He's from the past.
Not the glory days, though.
Justin Priest. Corey, I talked to you about incentive. Sadly, the team lost. I'm starting to think they are playing for pay. How does this get corrected and prevented from happening again?
Well, they're all going to be playing for pay. I mean, that's the reality we live in, right? That's why I asked Sertan what I asked. Like, that happens in the NFL, too. Like, there are teams in November that are out of the playoff race for the most part, although it's hard to be completely out of the playoff race in the NFL these days. But still, they're playing. They go to practice. They play. They still want to get drafted high. Even if they don't care if they win games at Florida State, they don't want to get embarrassed on a Saturday, and they don't want to look like they loaf, and they don't want to look like they're lazy and soft, because that looks bad. Whether you're trying to go transfer to another school or you're trying to be drafted, you still got to put good stuff on film at the very least, even if it's just taking care of you. And I also haven't seen them. I don't think they quit, man. I don't think, they didn't play physical against Pitt. But the other games, I was okay with the energy they played with, the fight they showed. They didn't quit. They haven't quit. So I want to give this team the benefit of the doubt. I know that wasn't really a question, but I want to give this team the benefit of the doubt and think that they still do play hard and they still do care somewhat about this place as much as you can in 2025. And they do want to win some games this year. I do think they care. I hope they care. We'll know so much more. Legitimately, we'll know so much more about after what we see, how it looks on Saturday night. After a bye week, by the way, with no excuses, no West Coast trip, no receivers being hurt, no top 2 team against Miami, and no road Friday night game. There are no excuses here. It's Saturday night in your place after a week off against a team that played the week before and played a 1-point game for 60 minutes. You have more talent than they do. They're a decent team. You're better. You have more talent than they do. There is no excuse here not to go play hard and not to go win. That's not me assuming they're going to win, but the other ones you could chalk up. This one, not Stanford really, but still, they were playing at 1 a.m.
You can't chalk up Pitt, man. I'm sorry. They're just
but you did have 21 points until Deuce got hurt. You did, and then you couldn't move the ball. That's on you. That's on you. Your quarterback was banged up, and and all your receivers were out. That is a legitimate excuse. It's not a great one, but it is a legitimate one. Still, you were relatively healthy. You've had a week off to rest up. You're at night. You're at home. You're playing a team that is ripe to be beaten, that barely beat SMU. They don't even know who their quarterback is from down to down or series to series. Go win the game, man. Go win the game. If not, if they go out and get embarrassed, then forget everything I said about them 3 minutes ago.
Jamming 2 shirts.
That's true, Odie. That's true. What do we know now about this team? They're not any good. But we'll know if they quit with what it looks like this weekend. I don't expect them to quit.
Every week, quote, we will know so much more after this weekend, he says. Touche. Jam and Two Shirts. How many Curt Cignetti types do you think are out there in all of college football? He ganders at least 10 that are just waiting to be found. I feel like we're in the point now of I saw somebody on the tribal council throw out the current James Madison coach, Bob Chesney, because they just had a good win on a Tuesday night against Texas State. It's like we are at that point where, like, I've been joking about Jake Dicker, but if Wake Forest beats Florida State, I will probably be like, they really should look into this guy possibly. I feel like every coach who has a good win, their Wikipedia page is being brought up by every Florida State fan. They're researching to see if they are a viable candidate that can get this thing turned around if it comes to that.
Yeah, I would not go with the James Madison route. I think that's maybe there's something there. I think Cignetti coached with Saban, right? Like, he had a history with big-time football before he got to James Madison, I thought. I could be wrong. I know he wasn't a coordinator for Saban, but I thought he worked with him, and he was around that type of football in that type of program. I don't think the current James Madison coach has been. I could be wrong.
He was at Bama when he got the job. He's there from 2007 to 2010.
Cignetti?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. He was there. So he was there for the Xavier Lee game. He had to wear that. He had to wear Dakota Fag streaking down the sideline, losing that game in Jacksonville. Probably the worst night of his life, Curt Cignetti, and Nick Saban. I don't know if he ever lost again after that. Yes,
that's the hope, man. That's what I'll chase it. I'm down. I'm down to chase it. I guess James Franklin's a safe bet. I don't think Brian Kelly is. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to hire Brian Kelly. Everybody's come out and talked about their favorite Brian Kelly story about how much they hate that guy. Yeah, he's too toxic to touch.
I would think, to answer the question about, I think there's more than 10. The point being, if the premise is how many coaches can win at Florida State, a ton. I keep bringing this up. Mike Norvell, who none of us think is a very good college football coach right now, won 19 games in a row here. Jimbo Fisher, who got fired at A&M and proved to be a decent but not great coach by any means, won 29 in a row at Florida State. Bobby Bowden had the best decade anybody's ever had. Like, this is all at one school. 3 different men, 3 different coaching styles, all perform this in one school. You do not have to be a magician, a soothsayer, some sort of mystic to win at Florida State. You just have to have some, I don't know, man. You just can't be awful. And you have to have some semblance of I can't even finish that sentence. I don't know how this has happened. But it is not impossible. It is not even all that hard to win at Florida State. It just isn't. He is making this look like he is trying to get Rice into the national championship game. This is impossible how hard he's making this look. It ain't that hard. Go get players, and you will win games at Florida State.
See, I don't know. Again, like, back to what I was trying to hint at. I like the idea of they're not going to be able to big game hunt. I know there's a lot of big game out there to hunt. Nope. It's just Lane Kiffin, man. It's just a Lane Kiffin.
It's Lane Kiffin, James Franklin.
Right.
Other than that, you're taking a shot. You're taking a gamble.
Yes.
You're taking a gamble. Me too.
Part of me likes it. Like, part of me is like, okay, but let's make it like a calculated gamble and one that we can afford to move off of if it doesn't work out.
And the game is so much different than it was 18 years ago, but what did Jimbo Fisher really had ever accomplished? What had he done to get the head coaching job at Florida State? He'd been a good coordinator at LSU, right? And a good recruiter.
Title, man. You know, he was the OC of a team that won a national title. He called plays in a national title.
The point is, there are coordinators out there that have similar resumes, but they're not slam dunks. It's not a guarantee, but that was a risk. Not just to give him the head coach when Bowden left, to make him the head coach in waiting after 1 year or 2 years or whatever it was. That was not a guaranteed success. And it could have failed, but it didn't. He was really good here. There are other people out there, plenty of people out there that can come win at Florida State. A lot of them, most of them, they at least wouldn't go 2-10. I would argue that if you and I had been the head coach for the last two seasons, the record would not be. It might be better, but it would not be worse.
Oh, pull that. No slander, Andrew. No Jimbo slander allowed on the show. They can post in the comments. We're not gonna give it.
And if you're gonna call him a 60-year-old has-been, spell it out at least. At least have the decency to spell out year-old and not just YO. Come on, no shorthand here.
Sportmark, Corey. Do you think Louisiana's governor is doing more harm or good by being so vocal?
I'll be honest with you. I loved it. I don't know anything about that guy's politics. I have an impression of what his politics are, but I loved what he said because he talked about not letting the current LSU athletic director make this hire, and that is Scott Woodward, who, as we all know, hired Jimbo at Texas A&M and gave him that huge buyout, and then immediately turned around and gave Brian Kelly this huge buyout contract. And what is his name? Landry, Governor Landry.
I think it's Jeff Landry. Yeah.
He's like the same agent that's representing Scott Woodward represents Jimbo and represents Brian Kelly. The conflict of interest is outrageous, and I'm tired of these people making these kind of decisions with our taxpayers' dollars. Now, obviously, it's not a lot of taxpayers' dollars that's going to Brian Kelly, but he is getting paid by the state some, and it's also it is his constituency that is having to pay for these crazy buyouts, and it's absurd. And it would be awesome if every governor in every state said, we're not doing this anymore. We're not allowing these people that are just ADs, they're essentially middlemen between the money and the head coach, to tie an anchor around our public institutions to the tune of $50 or $60 million to make these people rich on the behest of an agent who works every school against each other. I'm all for it. I love his comments. I hope that more. I don't know how much governors have control of situations like this. I do hope it becomes more of a take a step back. What in the world are we doing type moment with college administrators, presidents, and power brokers, and realize this is all stupid. I say that knowing Lane Kiffin's probably going to get $15 million a year or whatever it's going to be. But it's absurd. It's absolutely dumb. And I do hope more people start really hammering this point home, how awful it is for college athletics and how stupid it is for all these ADs and presidents to continually make decisions like these and draw up contracts like these. Asinine. Completely
he did
asinine.
say he's sick of rewarding failure. So
you can't say it any better than that.
Yeah.
Like Mike Norvell has been a failure by and large at Florida State. He's going to probably get rewarded to the tune of $50 million. I wouldn't call Brian Kelly a failure, but I guess by LSU standards, the 34-14 isn't good enough. And I wouldn't call James Franklin necessarily a failure. But you can deem it whatever you want. You can frame it however you want. Those guys are going to get paid $50 million by these public institutions and their fans to go away and not coach. And they are being rewarded for being fired. That's it's so backwards. It defies belief. If we didn't live it, we wouldn't believe something like this happened.
Like, put in the contract, if you win the national title, we will give you $20 million.
Perfect. People would bend over backwards to give somebody that kind of money to actually win something.
On the way out, last question. Thanks everybody for being here. Hit the thumbs up, please. Philip Moore, Aslan, if Corey was called to be the head coach, do you think he would have a better record now than Norvell? On the whole, I don't know. I don't know if Corey has 19 straight in him.
No. But
I
these
know
last
that,
2 years.
Yeah. I know that Corey has a level of self-deprecation or self-awareness where I think he would maybe have a very brief pregame speech and then kind of step away and let somebody else take the helm. They would run through a wall for Corey Clark.
Yeah.
And I think Corey Clark would know what buttons not to push to maybe wear down on the players with certain messaging and certain word choices and a certain, timbre in his voice and a certain octave. I just think, dogs follow dogs. They'd play hard for Corey.
We'd have beaten the shit out of Stanford. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know how the rest of the games would go, but you know why, Aslan? Because we would practice at night. I would not be practicing in the morning. I want players to actually want to come to my institution and play football and tell them they got to get up at 6:30 in the morning to go practice. That ain't it. I don't know when Ohio State practices. I'm assuming they don't practice in the morning. I know Kirby doesn't practice in the morning. So at the very least, maybe that's why you can't recruit Mike. Nobody wants to get up at the crack of dawn. High school's over. They want to enjoy the college experience just a little bit, but they can't. Hey, do you want to go out tonight? There's a party. Can't, man. I got to be up in 6 hours. I got to be up in 6 hours. Isn't that normal as a college 19-year-old? I love getting up at 6:15 in the morning, seeing the Roosters wake up. That's all I'm about. That's my life. That would not happen with Coach Clark. That's all I'm saying. And I would get a few more players, and I would not lose to Stanford. Also,
Peter
wouldn't have played
Collins,
in
are
the
you
Orange Bowl.
listening?
Wouldn't have played in the Orange Bowl.
Are you listening?
Please, anyone. And I will do it, man. I will do it, and I'll just take a $25 million buyout. I'm not greedy like Norvell. And I don't have an agent. I don't know Jimmy Sexton. Never talked to the man. So I'll just take a $25 million buyout, and I promise you, we will. I can't promise you that we won't embarrass you off the field. I don't know what kind of kids I'm going to recruit. I don't know what I'm going to be like as a millionaire. But I do know that we're going to practice late, and we're going to be violent. We're going to be physical, and we're going to not lose to Stanford. Not lose to Stanford. I promise you, I wouldn't do that.
And I don't think Corey would race the defensive lineman. No. I don't
They
think
would
Coach
get
Clark
dusted.
does
They would know not to do that.
Grant Wilkinson, Corey's press conference after a loss. Can't win with him.
Yep.
All right. That's a wrap for us. Shout out to our guy, Andrew, behind the scenes, getting everything produced, all the questions lined up to make this show go pretty seamlessly, for having all you crazy folks in the chat want to get involved. We do appreciate you all showing up. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. Thanks to Aaron P. And our guy, Matthew Cash, as well, for dropping some cash in the jar. We do appreciate that. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Go check out warchant.com. Really good column. Is it really a column or whatever?
No, that was just an article. It was an article by Ira. I guess it was sort of a column. There was some opinion. Yeah, his column about Norvell as the CEO.
Yeah.
Yes, that was absolutely a column, and really well done, because as have most things with Norvell lately, it kind of backfired him taking that step back.
Yeah. So go check that out over at warchant.com. We'll be back with one more show, some over-unders, giving away a $25 gift card to Garnet and Gold. So get involved in that. Head over to warchant.com. We'll always be there waiting for you folks. Thanks again for tuning in. He's Corey Mazon. Thumbs up on the way out. Have a great one, everybody. Stay connected to warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source.